If you were to write a book on your on a GMAT journey, what would
Okay.
you name it?
Oh, throwing a curveball at me.
Nice. And what would the
Because
first chapter be about?
the first chapter will be about GMAT is not easy.
Nice.
Because that shift,
Nice.
that paradigm shift of just understanding that GMAT is not an easy exam.
If you were to give yourself, your past self in the GMAT journey, any advice, what would it be?
Uh, okay, it's a difficult one.
Hello and welcome to everybody who is here to watch another success interview with us. And today with us, we have another successful story, a very inspiring one, I must say. We have with us Sajal Srivastav, the man of the moment. And he's here because he scored a wonderful 720. Why I say it was wonderful? Because his journey was absolutely inspiring. I was a part of his journey through and through. And we were together in his lows, in his ups, and he finally ended up with a wonderful score of 720. And the breakout of the score is a massive Q50 and a remarkable V38. He started with a 610, with a Q48 and a V27. So if you see, Sajal came a long way. So he's here to share his journey with all of you here who are looking for some inspiration, some motivation, feel a little stuck somewhere and need a bit of a push in their story. Here is Sajal to help you get that much needed push. Sajal, thank you so much for doing this. How are you doing and how does it feel to be here?
Thank you so much, Joe. So, right at the outset, I would like to say that if it wasn't for e-GMAT, I would not have been able to score a 720. So, thank you so much for your seamless support, the entire
Pleasure.
GMAT, e-GMAT support, and your support in general, because you really helped me like narrow down my process and get to that 720 mark. So, thank you so
Right.
much. And I'm
Absolutely.
feeling very relieved because this has been a long journey for me. So I have been preparing for almost a year in breaks because I
Yeah.
had a lot of ups and downs and a lot
Hmm.
of personal commitments, because of which I
Yes.
wasn't able to properly devote time to GMAT. But in
Yeah.
the end, everything ended well. So I'm
Yeah.
happy and relieved.
Great. Great. So, Sajal, you just mentioned that your journey has been a long one,
Yes.
and I vouch for it. I believe that the journey was a little long because there were a lot of things that were going on simultaneously, in the background. But I must say that despite all of those hurdles and all of the distractions, you managed to come out on top, and I think that is something that makes this journey even more special. So, Sajal, before we dive into your entire journey and try to extract learnings out of it, it would be great if you could just help our viewers with your background, your academic background, your professional background.
Yeah, sure. So I did my engineering from Delhi College of Engineering. I majored in
Right,
mechanical, and after that, I always had a proclivity towards business side and startup side.
right.
So the next best shift for me was to join an MNC. So I
Hmm.
worked in an MNC for about 2 years, and now
Right.
recently I have shifted to a consumer-focused startup.
Okay.
So that was the progression. And why MBA? Because I felt that uh, after a certain point, I will be at a crossroads. Not right now, because I really want to build my profile. But let's say in the next 2 to 3 years, I will end up at a plateau and will be at a
Right.
crossroads. And at that point, I don't want to devote a lot of time studying for the GMAT. I wanted to do the heavy
Right.
lifting beforehand. So that
True.
was my motivation to give the GMAT. And let's see how things go.
Absolutely. Right. I think this is a very wise decision. A lot of people can learn out of this. Rather than waiting for that moment in life where you are at the crossroads, it's better to get at least GMAT out of the way so that when the time comes, you have other things to look after and you can devote more time there. So a smart move, I would say. So Sajal, you come from an engineering background, and usually engineers have uh, a good hold over quant,
Yeah.
right? Uh, but I want to understand from you uh, before we get into a little further into your journey. So you understood that MBA was something that you would think about in the future. So you got GMAT out of the way. But what did you do to prepare yourself for the first attempt where you scored a 610?
Yes, so Dhruv, I'll beg to differ a little to your point where you mentioned that engineers have a good hold on quant. They
Right.
do, but more often than not, the questions, the hard questions in GMAT are not heavily focused on how well you can solve a question, but more focused on how well you can comprehend the question, like you can comprehend the data.
Yes.
So the attention
True.
to detail is very important.
Mm.
So I will say engineers have a good hold of quant, which can be a bane also, because more often than
Absolutely.
not they get overconfident to solve the question,
Yes.
but the question actually is asking for something else, and they end up marking
Mm.
the wrong answer. And GMAT, is very good at placing the trap choices
Yeah.
in the answer choices. So yeah, I would say attention to detail is very important in quant, and
Right.
having an engineering background can help to a certain extent. But after that, you really have to double down on this particular aspect of understanding the question to the T.
Right. Right. True. True. That's a very good advice, I believe, because I completely agree when you say that people tend to become overconfident when they come from that background, and as you rightly said, they mellow down a little bit when they realize that this quant is a little different. We need a little bit more of attention and a bit of more humility, right? That's what GMAT teaches you. All right. So as I said, the question was that how did you prepare for your first attempt where you scored a 610? Any resources
Okay,
that you used?
so like I will first talk about the mindset. So
Sure.
in my first preparation, I had this mindset that GMAT is easy because I went through the OG, I went through the quant
Right.
section, and I was able to solve the questions easily. So I
Right.
had this notion at the back of my head that I don't need a coaching for this, and I will be able to crack GMAT. And
Right.
unfortunately, more often than not, uh, all the 760s, 770s are overrepresented on internet. So you
Right.
tend to believe that like it's a cakewalk, but in reality, it
Right.
isn't. So
Right.
the preparation was very general. So for quant, I just did OG, and after
Right.
that I did the advanced GMAT for quant. And for verbal, I studied for CR. I used the Bible, the GMAT Bible,
Okay.
for critical reasoning, and for reading comprehension and sentence correction, I utilized the Manhattan Prep book.
Right.
That was my only sort of preparation.
Okay. All right. And the 610 would have certainly given you a little bit of the true reflection of where you stood. And that's when I'm sure you started looking for some test prep companies. So, of course, there are a lot of companies out there, a lot of good companies out there. Why did you think that e-GMAT would be the right choice for you and would suit your needs?
Okay, so before my first attempt, I was giving a lot of mock GMAT papers, and
Right.
after giving 6, 7 first free GMAT papers, e-GMAT stood out
Okay.
because the Sigma X mock was really good.
Hmm.
The after analysis, after giving the mock, was really good, and the type of questions were sort of reflective of the exam. So
Right.
after that, that there were no, I was not in two minds about it. I
Right.
just wanted to know like how can I leverage on my current prep level? What should I unlearn and what should I relearn? So
Right.
that was it. e-GMAT, after giving the first Sigma X mock, I was very sure that I'm gonna go for e-GMAT only, nothing else.
Okay. All right. So it was the mocks that convinced you, and of course the data and analytics that convinced you that this was the right place. Okay,
Yes,
great. So Sajal, we'll start with the verbal journey first because your verbal journey, I believe, is truly inspirational because you started with the V27 and you ended up with a V38. Of course, there were a couple of attempts in between
yes,
this journey, and they were truly amazing. So we'll understand those two different journeys also. But let us
Okay.
start with uh, your weakest area in verbal. What do you believe was your weakest area when it came to the verbal section?
Like I would say sentence correction was my weakest area in verbal. Uh,
Right.
there were two aspects to it. So one
Okay.
is if you are good at sentence correction, when you are giving the exam, it sort of is a gold mine for you, because then you can spend very less time on solving sentence correction questions, and you can
Right.
use that time to solve the more difficult CR and RC questions.
True.
So, in that sense, since I was spending a lot of time on sentence correction, I would say sentence correction was the weakest part for me.
Okay. So I think you started from scratch for SC. So how do you think, or what do you think made it easy for you to go about the SC course and then start bringing your time down gradually to solve SC questions?
Okay, so I would like to have a contrast here. So before joining e-GMAT, when I was going through the SC modules from Manhattan Prep, so
Right.
there also we have a lot of theory, and I
Okay.
prepared the theory to the T.
Okay.
But I didn't realize that just going through the theory is like 10-20% of the entire preparation.
Right.
I was in a notion that if I do the theory, then I will be able to solve essay questions pretty easily. But
Right.
that is not the case. With e-GMAT, what happened was the error log was a game changer for me, even for CR and RC. So if
Okay.
like anyone who is listening, I will say error log takes time to build, but please do it. Error log is the most important part of the journey, and it really helped me not only to revise, because in revision you cannot go through the concepts again and again. You will
True.
have to rely on a central repository, and error log was that repository which I used from my second attempt to my third attempt. Till the very last day I was using error log, so I was so
Right.
dependent on error log that I would be like, if I do the error log one more time, then I will be able to score a good score in verbal.
Right. Right. Were there any uh, tips or tricks that you were using to solve SC questions apart from the meaning-based approach? Because I know that you were process-oriented.
Yes,
You were following the process to the T. Apart from that, was there anything that you were doing, or you were completely reliant on the meaning-based approach?
I was complete. So here's the thing. So when I joined e-GMAT, so it's a leap of faith that you have to faith the organization, and you have to sort of trust the process.
Right.
And I really trusted the process. And if like e-GMAT says that we have to solve every question with the meaning-based approach for SC, then I was solving every question with meaning-based approach no matter what.
Right.
So, and that really helped me, because when you start doing the meaning based approach, uh, one thing happens, that when you are marking an answer choice, you are confident about it. And when you
True.
are confident, and if you are not confident about marking an answer choice, you are hovering between, let's say, choice A and choice D. And then in
Mm.
the end, you mark choice D, but you are not sure about it. That
True.
mental stress is taken to the next question also,
True.
to the in the entire exam, I would say. So if you are following the process, and if you are really religious about the process, then when you're marking the answer choice, you are sure that the answer choice that I've marked is the correct answer choice, and you are sort of stress free
Right.
when you go to the next question. And that really
Right.
helped me.
Right. Right. Makes sense. And also, if you don't follow the process and you keep hovering between those two options, you end up taking a lot of time, which then ultimately also impacts your final score because you then fail to attempt all the questions. Right? That
Yes,
makes a lot of sense.
I would like to
Right.
add here is in my first preparation, the way I used to prepare for verbal was that my key success metric was if I can narrow down to at least two choices, then it's a success.
Right. Right.
When it isn't, because narrowing down from five answer choices, narrowing down to two answer choices, you are in no shape or form in an advantage as compared to someone who sort of is not narrowing down to any answer choice and is guessing. In fact, he is at an advantage because he's not taking a lot of time. First, you have
Right.
taken time to narrow down to two choices, and then it's a
Right.
50-50 chance for you.
True.
So there is no true advantage here. You have to
Right.
understand that you have to eliminate the wrong answer choices and you have to go to the right answer choice. It,
Right. Right. Uh, so Sajal, SC was done nicely. Why did you believe that CR and RC were not as weak as SC was? What was good about CR and RC?
no, in fact, I would say CR, the e-GMAT CR course is also really helpful, and RC course is also really helpful. The point that I wanted to make here is I can save time on SC. And if I'm
Right.
confident about saving time on SC, then I can use that time in CR and RC.
True.
So that was the point that I wanted to make previously. But to answer your question, I think for CR, the falsification, I used to answer CR questions based on the option choices initially.
Right.
I used to read the stimulus, the question stem,
Right.
and then I used to directly jump to the answer choices.
Right.
This can work for 600 or let's say a medium question, but for
Right.
700 plus level questions, this trick won't work because GMAT is very intelligent and it is going to place the wrong answer choice. It knows the areas where students will falter and
Right.
it's going to capitalize on the same.
Right.
So, pre-thinking and then ingraining that thought process of pre-thinking after reading the question stem, asking the falsification question, and then making the scenarios. This is something that I sort of ingrained from the process, and then from error log for CR.
Okay.
And for RC also the same thing. For RC, I used to just read the sentence.
Right.
Right now, I wasn't reading the sentence; I was understanding the sentence. I was
True.
understanding the entire passage. So before reading the
Right.
next sentence, I always used to think along the lines of what can the author say next.
Right.
Just this small shift really helped me to keep my focus on the passage because when you are reading a long passage, it is very easy to lose focus. And
Right.
one of the key areas of not losing focus is just to be very proactive and think about what the author is about to say next.
True.
This is what I learned from e-GMAT. So I would like to point one more thing here. Like these are the things that anyone who is listening can learn. But if you want to really ingrain it in your process, in your
Right.
answer solving process, then you really have to do it very religiously on every
Mm.
question, create the error log, and do the same thing over and over and over again.
Right.
Because there's a difference between just knowing what to do and practicing. The practice
True.
aspect is something that e-GMAT really helped me with.
Right. Right. So Sajal, you went through all the courses very diligently. You kept doing well. Your CRRC also went really well. Uh, during a second attempt, the one after you
Okay.
joined e-GMAT, uh, was also a good one, but we were, I think, a little short on time, and that's why we had to expedite the quant course, if
Yes,
you remember.
yes.
Uh, you were always very confident about the quant side of things, but in the second attempt, the quant side of things did not really work, in our favor. Do you think that if the way you gave more time to things in the third attempt, had you done that in the second attempt, things would have been better for quant?
In hindsight, it's very easy to say that had I
True.
done things in a different way, it would have worked in my favor. But
Yeah.
if I think about it from the perspective of preparing for the second attempt, I wasn't
Right.
very confident about my verbal. So I anyway had to work more on verbal.
Right.
For and for quant, like you have to have an intuition also. What are your weak areas? What are your strong areas? I knew
Right.
that quant was my strong area, but I needed some refinement there.
Right.
So, but I cannot do that refinement at the cost of my verbal preparation.
True.
So, like, luck plays a good role in
It's one
GMAT.
part. Yeah.
So, for
Yeah.
example, in quant, let's say if I was really good at number problems and I was
Right.
not so good in geometry. So,
Right.
you never know if you get a hard question from geometry or you'll get a hard question from number problems.
Mm.
So I think luck was a factor that played in my favor in my third attempt, because of which I was
Right.
able to score slightly better in quant.
Right. Right. But anyway, Sajal, you were always confident about your quant abilities.
Yes,
I remember that. Uh, you always, somewhere within you knew that quant, if things go your way, you would actually hit it out of the park. Uh, Unfortunately, that couldn't happen on the second attempt. As you just said, sometimes it's about your luck also. If you get questions from your weaker areas, then there's not much you can do. But I think your decision making on focusing more on verbal, I think that actually played a huge role in your
yes,
success, because I always tell all my students that every decision that you make during the prep has its impact on the final score.
that is
And
true.
I think you did take some good decisions. The best part about you, Sajal, was that when we were together in this journey, we did have our own differences, but we always managed to come on the same page, because our goal was the same. And I think that's what made this journey really interesting. Uh, there would be times when you would question my suggestions. There would be times when I would question your logics. But at the end of the day, we were both on the same team, right? So I think that helped and that made it really interesting, right? So your second attempt was a 700,
Yes.
right? What was the breakup? What was it? A
Uh,
Q49,
Q49 and V36.
V36, and the both of us knew that we could do better than this. But 700, I believe, was actually a ray of hope, because I think when we started the mock journey, it was a difficult one because the improvement was very marginal. There was
Yes.
improvement, if you remember. Started with a 670, another 670, then a 690, and then you finally got a 700. Uh, Anything that you want to share with the viewers about that journey from a mock 670 to a 700? What was it that you were doing to constantly keep on improving?
So at the outset, I would like to say that after you prepare, more often than not, your score can drop or can be stagnated. The
Right,
reason for that is after your first leg, so we have to understand that GMAT preparation has to be done in different stages.
very
So
true.
the first stage is just understanding the concept.
True,
Once I understood the concept, I had to do a lot of cementing
true.
to ingrain the concept. That is still
Yeah,
not even 50% of the battle, because the
yeah,
main battle is about test readiness.
right,
People usually lose sight of this fact that preparation for the concept preparation and then cementing is just half of the battle.
right,
So initially I scored a 660 without any preparation, and after doing the concepts and cementing, I scored a 670 in
right,
Sigma X mock. And the reason for
right,
that, I think, is when you first of all you know the concept, you end up spending a lot of time on questions because you know the concept.
right,
That
right,
because of which you tend to lose time and end up not sort of answering the last few questions correctly. That
true.
happened with me. So
Yeah,
in case after doing the first stage of preparation you are not able to score well, it's trust the process. It's the part of the process, and eventually you
right,
will have to understand that this is just half of the battle. The other half of
right,
the battle is test readiness, and test
true.
readiness takes time. So
Absolutely.
so that is one thing. And the second thing is, I remember after the third Sigma X mock, so in the second Sigma X I scored a 670, in third I
Right,
scored a 680, just a 10-point
right,
improvement. And I had a word with you, like where I'm faltering. So you sent me few videos of e-GMAT, a lot of
Right.
verbal videos. Those videos were a game changer for me because
Right.
even though I knew the concept, I realized that I wasn't ingraining the concept. So the area where I was faltering was answer choice analysis.
Okay. Right.
So in many questions, what I used to do if I was short of time, I used to just skim through the answer choices, and if I was confident for, let's say, choice B, I sometimes tended to skip C, D, E answer choices, and that is a
Right.
recipe of disaster.
Absolutely.
So,
Right.
being very cognizant about answer choice analysis and understanding the concept and the cementing is just 50% of the battle. These two things really helped me sort of get that ray of hope again, so that
Right.
I knew that there are many things to improve and I will eventually improve on those things.
True. True. So after you scored a 700, uh, I mean, we saw that marginal improvement, but the good part was that we always saw improvement. So that kept us going. Then we would get on a call together. We would analyze your mocks. You would figure out what was going wrong.
Yes.
You would start working on those diligently. A lot of things actually played their part in helping you reach a 700. I
There was a
remember
dip
when,
also. Sorry to cut you.
yeah,
There was a dip
yes,
also in one of my Sigma X mocks. So in
hmm,
one mock I scored a 680, and then in the fourth mock I scored a 670 again. And that was because
okay, right,
of a completely new problem that I had never faced before. And that problem was understanding when to skip an answer choice.
right,
This because I never faced this problem before. And in quant, since I was sort of confident about my abilities in quant, I got stuck in one of the questions which I could not have solved,
right.
let alone in 3 minutes, let alone in two and a half,
Ah,
3 minutes.
absolutely,
If had I skipped that question, I would have solved the last 3 4 questions of quant correctly, which I eventually
hmm,
had to sort of skip and guess those answer choices,
right,
due to which my score dipped.
right, right.
So that's
The
that's
best
what I'm
part of,
saying. Test readiness, something
is
that
important.
we eventually learn with time, but we have to be very cognizant of the fact that test readiness is very important and it will take some time, and we have to like sort of uh, maintain that timeline. That see, I have just done the concept files, but I'll need this amount of time to do the test readiness.
Right, right. So, you were always extracting learnings out of every mock attempt, and then you kept on working, and that's why you could see things improving. 700 was a very good score. I remember we were both pretty relieved, but we knew that we could do better, and that's why uh, we thought of taking another shot, giving it another shot, and we once again went back to the basics, trying to figure out what more can be fixed. And that 700 to 720 was a different journey. Can you just tell the viewers just summarize if you can as to what did you do in those 10 days or 15 days from a 700 to a 720 that led to this 20-point improvement, which was a beautiful one.
So I think the biggest thing here was I read this quote somewhere that when things are not working, eat a chocolate. So
Okay,
that basically means that if you are stress free, then the odds of you succeeding is very high, or higher than if you are
right,
stressed. So since I already had 700 with me, so I wasn't very stressed about the D day, the exam day.
yeah,
That is one thing, and that is, I think, the most important thing. That's why we have
true,
to. I know it's a very arduous journey. The GMAT preparation is difficult, as I mentioned in the beginning, but we have to maintain our nerves. We have to be very cognizant of the fact that stress plays a key role on the exam day, and
true,
and yes, that is one thing. And second thing about the preparation, I would say was I used to just go through my error log in the morning, and in the
yes,
evening I used to do a lot of scholarly quizzes.
right,
So when you have data, there is if you're not using data intelligently, then there is no use of that data.
true,
So Scholaranium provided me with all sorts of data. Like what are my weak
True.
areas? What are my weak areas in subsections of quant or verbal? What are my weak areas in the subsection in different difficulty levels?
Modules and concepts
Yes.
and difficulty
So
levels.
I had all the data, and I was just
Right.
using that data judiciously during
True.
my preparation. So, for example, I mentioned that I was weak at geometry. So I used to solve geometry questions in Scholaranium, custom quizzes,
Right.
and that really helped me. And I think the best part about e-GMAT was this
Right.
Scholaranium after error log, because I will say error log is the most important thing if you want to gain
Right.
confidence. And after that, Scholaranium was the best thing to gauge your success and gauge your preparation level. Because if you're not measuring, then you won't be improving. To improve, you have to measure. And
Right.
in order to measure your status or your level of preparation, you need to have something, a good software. And
Yeah.
Scholaranium really helped me there.
Right. Right. I think your third attempt was more relaxed because
Yes,
you were pretty busy with your job as well. You weren't able to extract a lot of time. So you
yes.
relied on error log. And that is why in the beginning when you said error log is a game changer, I could
Error log is a
connect
game
because
changer.
that's what
It
you were
takes
doing.
In the beginning, what happened was when I was filling the error log, it takes a lot of time filling
Right.
the error log, but you will reap the benefit of the error log like in the second stage or the third stage of the preparation,
Right.
and you will realize it later that how important error log is.
Right. You finally ended up with a 720 Sajal, Q50, V38, a good improvement, massive improvement. I'm sure that makes you feel proud about this journey,
Yes,
right?
so
But I have a question for you. If you were to write a book on your on a GMAT journey, what would
okay.
you name it?
Oh, throwing a curveball at me.
Yeah,
Uh,
just for fun.
okay, like I will say uh, GMAT journey, the iterative process,
Nice, nice. And what would the
because
first chapter be about?
the first chapter will be about GMAT is not easy,
Nice,
because
nice.
that paradigm shift of just understanding that GMAT is not an easy exam. You will have to devote a lot of time.
Right.
That
To
changes your
basically set
perspective
the
towards your
mindset.
preparation. Yes.
Yes, yes. True, true. Good one, Sajid. I have one last question for you, right? If you were to give yourself, your past self in the GMAT journey, any advice, what would it be?
Uh, okay, it's a difficult one. Like I would say I should have joined e-GMAT sooner than later. That is first.
Okay, all right,
And the second advice would be to understand your nature of learning, because
mm,
what I mean by that is uh, going through all the content on GMAT preparation on internet, I was in a notion that it's not very prudent to go for coaching. You can do
right,
self preparation also, and you will be able
right,
to come out with flying colors.
right,
But then it's self preparation can be a good thing, but it can be a good thing for a specific set of people. And
right.
I should have known that I don't fall in that set.
Mm,
I need structure, and I need someone to guide me.
right,
That is how I learn.
right.
And everyone has a different way of learning.
Yes.
So
Self-awareness is basically,
self-awareness is very important.
mm,
Like
true.
self-preparation works for a lot of folks, but it doesn't work for me.
Right, right. Horses for courses,
Yeah.
right? That's what you're trying to say. Good, lovely advices.
Think, sorry to cut you. One more thing I would like to say is
Yeah, go ahead.
during my second leg of preparation, what happened was I think I mentioned this multiple times that you should know the stage of your preparation.
Uh,
So the initial stage for me, since I was someone who was preparing for GMAT with a full-time job, the initial
right,
preparation cannot you cannot expect results from it. You can expect to get the momentum.
true.
So in the second leg of preparation, when I was preparing for my second attempt. Before my second
Right.
attempt, so I had a huge gap, like 2 3 months gap, because there were a lot of things going on.
Right.
I was very busy with my office, so I lost the entire momentum. So
True.
I wasn't able to study at home. So what I used to do was I used to go to a coffee shop to prepare for GMAT, and again in the coffee shop I used to just go through the error log for the entire day
Okay.
on weekends, because I just
Okay.
wasn't getting I was getting distracted a lot when at my house. I knew it's not the most efficient way, because your
Right.
efficiency sort of reduces when you are in a environment like that of a coffee shop. But
Right.
for me, the downside of reduction of efficiency didn't outweigh the upside of sitting, having computer in front of you and studying.
True.
So, so that wasn't something that I did for the entire 3 4 month period.
Right.
I did that for the first month, and after I gained momentum, then it was sort of a snowball effect. The
Yes.
momentum kept increasing, increasing. Then
Right.
I didn't rely to the coffee shop. I was
Yeah.
I was at my home studying in the morning and after office. So,
Right.
but that initial inertia, that friction, is
Right.
very important.
Very
Like
important.
you have to get off that rut as soon as possible.
Yes.
And in also everyone has different ways to deal with that friction. For me, it was just changing the environment.
Right.
My study room wasn't working for me in the initial stages of
Right.
my second leg of preparation. So I just had to
Right.
change the environment.
I'm glad you
But
brought this
again,
up.
yeah, and again, I knew that I wasn't being efficient. I knew that
Right.
this is not the right way to study, but in order to gain momentum, I have to.
True. True.
Uh, the third advice that I would like to give to my past self is not to expect a different output by not changing the input. So, in order to expect a different output, which is a good score, you have to change the input. And I remember during my first and the second phase of preparation, I relied a lot on the available material. For example, GMAT Bible for CR and Manhattan for
Right.
RC and SC. And I was doing that over and over again. And there was not any incremental improvement. So I knew
Right.
that I have to change things. And
Right.
that's why I thought of joining e-GMAT. First of all, first of all, the leap of faith was I need to join a coaching. And then the best
Right.
coaching for me, because of the Sigma X mock, was e-GMAT only.
Right.
So we have to change the input if we want to sort of get to a better result.
Right.
And I think the fourth advice that I would like to give to my past self is to always aim higher than your caliber or your current level of preparation. So there are two reasons for it.
Right.
So the first reason is GMAT is an adaptive exam. So it will always adjust to your current level of preparation. So no matter
Right.
what, the exam will be difficult for everyone,
Right.
unless and until you are a prodigy of a 800 level. It will be difficult for everyone.
True.
And the second
Yeah.
second part here is there are a lot of uncontrollables in the GMAT exam. For example,
Right.
everyone gets different set of questions. The luck plays a
Right.
huge role here. So if you are not sort of aiming higher, then I'm not sure how gonna end up getting to at least to that level. So
Right.
one anecdote here that I would like to share is when I was giving my first attempt, my aim was 700 plus or 720 to be max.
Right.
Then my preparation strategy was, if I had gotten a medium question incorrect, then I was like,
Right.
okay, this happens. I'll still reach to my level. I'll still reach to my aim, which is 720. But
True.
when I joined e-GMAT, the very first course that we have to go through is to understand that a high score is very, very, very important. A 750
Right.
score is very important because of the scholarships. You tend to get more scholarships, or your chances of getting a scholarship increases
Right.
if you have a good score. So when after joining e-GMAT, I had this mindset of scoring more than 750. And when you have this mindset, getting only two medium questions incorrect in a 10-question quiz is not acceptable. Getting
Right.
any 4 hard questions incorrect in a 10-question hard cementing quiz is not acceptable. Then I was just
Right.
agonizing on where are my faltering points, how can I improve. So the
Right.
of shift of aspiring from a 720 to a 760 was sort of a mind shift for me, and it really helped me.
Right. So it's like you aim for the stars and you reach the clouds.
Yes, yes, exactly.
All right. Thank you for this as well, because I'm sure this will also give a lot of people some ideas if they are also unable to find that momentum, which is initially extremely important. All right, Sajal, this was a wonderful interview for me. I also gained a lot of insights from you about your mentality, what was happening here, and this will certainly help me help other GMAT aspirants who come my way. So thank you so much once again for doing this, Sajal. I won't keep you here for long. It was a wonderful journey. Do keep me posted about your next milestones, and would love to stay in touch. So yeah, that's
Thank you
it.
so much, bro, for your support.
Absolutely pleasure. Absolute pleasure. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for staying till the end and watching this interview. I'm sure you've gained something out of it. Stay tuned. There are more successful stories coming your way. So, yeah, thank you so much and happy learning. Thank you so much, Sajal. Bye. Have a great time.
Bye bye.